Chapter 1. The Figure Appears. It was a dark, dreary night. The moon cast deep shadows over the great forest. A soft green glow pierced the darkness. To the left of the light, a building with a stone foundation rose hundreds of meters into the air. On the path behind, a tall figure stood. The figure fixed its gaze on the green flame in a lamp attached to a staff. Raising a hand above the lantern, the figure extinguished the light, plunging the forest into pure darkness. A sniff came from beneath the cloak as moonlight broke through the branches, casting fleeting beams on the forest floor. A rustle in the bushes made the figure perk up, listening intently for any further movement. After minutes of staying completely still, the figure leaped to its feet. Lifting the lantern to the moonlight, the figure whispered in an unfamiliar tongue. The pale moonlight was absorbed into the lantern, producing a dull glow. Moving towards the building, the figure searched for a door. Once found, they slowly unlatched the gate and slipped inside. The smell led the figure to a small puddle of dark liquid. Lowering two slender fingers into it, they gasped in pain. Smoke rose from the blistering skin. "How sallow," the figure whispered, quickly wiping the liquid from their hand. The figure's fingers had blistered after a few short seconds. "I come all the way here, and what do I find? Some spilled blood, and that be a wretched thing." Lowering the hood revealed a female with long eyelashes and a scar running from her forehead to nearly her jaw on the right side of her face. Her startling sapphire eyes twinkled even in the dim lantern light. She scanned the area. No one seemed to be in sight. Now more accustomed to the dark, she could tell that no one had been there for months. But what of this fresh blood? Perhaps a mercenary searching for plunder had met the wrong end of a sword. Slowly, she lowered herself to the ground, sitting with her legs crossed. Setting her staff in her lap, she whispered in that strange tongue again. The stone ground shook slightly. From the stone, a deep purple flame arose, encircling her. Silence fell. Even the howling trees ceased. Suddenly, the flame disappeared. She raised her lantern and used it to help herself up, stumbling for a moment. As she steadied herself, an arrow clanged against the castle wall. She flung herself to the ground. From a high tower some 100 feet away, a declaration of battle rang out. Struggling to stand, she collapsed again. The arrow had ricocheted off the wall, landing at her feet. In the light, she saw the sheen of a blood-tipped arrow. A hunter was pursuing her. Only one so skilled could shoot from such a distance through a small window. A cry bellowed from outside the castle. Gaining some strength, she managed to stand firm, nearly 7 feet tall, with the moon shining through the castle's roof. Her heart pounded. She glanced around, looking for an escape. She had to calm herself. With shaking hands, she reached for her pack. After a few seconds of searching, she found what she needed, a small feather. She raised it to her left cheek. It sparked into a small red flame and then disappeared in a display of sparks. The feather left an orange glow on her cheek. Her hand steadied. Grabbing a stone from her waist bag, she began marking symbols into the ground. The marks glowed, filling the room with light. She knew it would give away her position, but she had no other option. Another cry from the hunter, closer this time. Her ears perked like a feline's. Her face reddened with embarrassment. Then silence. A loud voice rang from the room's entrance. "Come on out now. We know you're in there. Don't make me ask twice, or Ramsay forbid we come in after ya." It was just as she feared. The use of "we" indicated more than one. She was already weak from her earlier spell. She had used too much strength, searching for the horn. She saw no way out. "I told you I ain't gonna ask twice. Your petty spells won't scare me," bellowed the voice. A small item rolled into the room. She recognized it, but too late. A small explosion knocked her down as 3 figures piled into the room. Blinded by smoke, she could make out at least 2 in plate armor. She coughed, expelling blood. The clear liquid flowed down her face. The men marched toward her. One grabbed her, pulling her to her knees. Her vision cleared. A short, staunch man stared up at her with drunken hatred. "What have we here?" "She's a fine one, ain't she, lads?" They laughed. "What say we do with her, Cap'n?" one asked. "I say we skin her alive," said another. A loud clang as the captain slammed his sword hilt into the third man's helmet. "What's wrong with you, idiot? That's not up to us." For as dumb as these 3 were, she knew resisting was hopeless. Hunters are trained to see past tricks. So what's the boss say we gonna do with her? Hey, Captain, another asked. The boss wants us to capture any Murs. No fussing about it. We'll take her to the old capital and give her to the boss. Her heart fluttered in anger. Not that horrible man, she thought. She'd rather die here. The captain spoke again. And what may your name be, fair lady? She held back anger. Her face scrunched briefly in disgust, but then became solemn. My name is Ariel, and may I ask your names? Ha! Why would we give you our names? We know your mind games, Mur. They laughed, a chorus of mucus-covered lungs. All right, fellows, we caught the beast. Let's drag her to the boss. With difficulty, they hoisted her to her feet. The captain unveiled a long rope resembling twine. I reckon you know what this is, then? She shuddered. It was a rope entwined with slock-bin hair. The captain stood on his toes, bringing the twine around her neck. It stung as it melded with her skin. All right, you old cur, hurry along. We ain't got much time, the captain said as the others pushed her forward. She stumbled but managed to stand. The sword sheath pointed at her back. And if ye think of trying anything funny, one tug and that rope will rip your head off. Clear? He stared up at her, expecting a response. She huffed and began to walk forward. As they left the building, she noticed 3 horses near the wall. It's a far way to the capital now. We've been on your trail for at least a fortnight, but no need for detours. This path leads to the main road. They marched down the winding road to the highway, a straight shot to Montry capital. She stared at the fading woods, entering the fields of Ingren. A vast landscape of brown grass stretched for miles. She resigned herself as they headed for that damnable place.